Aspect ratio is that frame that you're looking at that is either 1:8:5, 2:3:5 for feature films, and then you're looking at 1:7:8 or 1:7:7 widescreen television for TV and commercials. You've broken down the script. It's now time to communicate that vision with the director and then select an aspect ratio. Now, the aspect ratio you might think is so simple. Well, I want this super 35, 2:3:5 aspect ratio. Yeah, cinematic. I'm going to show you a couple movies that I've shot that using that aspect ratio would have seriously compromised the emotion, as well as the composition, as well as the camaraderie of the story. I chose 1:8:5 aspect ratio for Crazy Beautiful. Now, the reason I chose 1:8:5 instead of 2:3:5 is I wanted a lot of headroom and foot room in the frame. The story was about teenage love, and teenagers are very inconsistent. They're all over the place. So I wanted my framing to be just like that, this inconsistency of teenagers. We start very high when we first come in. We got the light in the frame, he's down there, you take in his world. Look at how it's skewed and weighted. And then we run the same thing at 2:3:5, and what that would have been, it restricts that space. And this is something where, you know, they're alive, they're free. I didn't want to have the aspect ratio ruin this type of composition. Now let's talk about the greatest game ever played. The greatest game ever played was a story about a very young amateur. It's like that David versus Goliath story, where the greatest golfer in the world is going to get beaten by this very young whippersnapper of a kid. And when you think of the story, that is 2:3:5. Absolutely cinematic with a golf course, because the golf course is very landscape, and you'll be able to get these amazing vistas and all that. Well, that's just 20% of the story. The other 80% of the story was the relationship between Francis Ouimet and his caddy. Now, if his caddy had been the same height of Francis, 2:3:5 would have been a beautiful aspect ratio. But Francis was 6'2", and his caddy was 4'9". So when you start to think of that height difference and how you can frame somebody, if we went with a 2:3:5 aspect ratio, that kid's head would have been on a platter. The other thing that it gives you is the ability to do these over the shoulders without losing the kid. If this was 2:3:5, I'd be really chopping them, right? And then I'd have to almost dig the camera in the hole. It's not just what looks beautifully cinematic and what's going to be the best visually. You have to dive deep into the story. What are the characters telling you? What is that emotion, and what is the core of the story? And the core of the story was this relationship.
How you doing there, Mr. President?
Like our YouTube channel and follow us. We're out there, we're slinging it. We're sharing the knowledge. I have the passion, I have the inspiration. I love talking with all of you and sharing 30+ years of experience.